Is Amy coming?
No, not here.
She's not. Well, there's that. Here's the extras.
Jim.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is there a? Would it be better to wait till the end?
Wherever you've got it to discuss, yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 14th regular meeting of the Owen County Council. At this time, if you would please stand with me. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you tonight for your blessings upon our lives. I ask you to intervene this evening, Lord, grant wisdom as we deal with these issues. Put your hand of safety around those who might be in harm's way. Be with our military people, Father. Be with those of law enforcement and those of the medical field, Father. And we just thank you for each and every one. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Right now, there she is.
Another copy of that.
You're fine. We just got through the prayer, so you haven't missed a thing.
There you go.
All right, at this time, minutes from our last meeting, we're requesting we table those, so I'll entertain.
Make a motion, we postpone consideration of the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0. All right, we've had a busy day today. From 8 to about 3 o'clock, we were engaged in a work session regarding the 2021-2022 budget. As promised, we have a roll-up of the cuts that we were able to make from the budget. And Tom and Sheila worked on putting the spreadsheet together. So I'll give you guys a chance to look through there. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, let us know. Would you like to explain anything regarding this?
So what we had done is we had conducted our work session this morning with our department heads who came out and participated in that. There were a wide variety of things we looked at. Some of them continued corrections work with previous transactions that were done for the county, as well as areas where pretty clear and evident cuts could be made to get our numbers adjusted. And the spreadsheet that you have in front of you kind of itemizes those different things that we identified and talked about earlier today, as well as incorporate some of the things that Jim had talked about, as well as some items that we took action on at our last couple of meetings, which kind of all go towards that total that Jim was speaking of. And there's a couple of items in there that kind of have a little dark box, if you will, and those are pending because the auditor's office hasn't had a chance to complete those. That concerns insurance items relating to liability insurance and workers' comp. All of the cost of those were taken out of the general fund. However, we budget for part of those out of some other funds, and so that, those dollar amounts, that exact breakout is pending. And whatever the other funds, whatever their part is the amount that will fill into those boxes, and that'll add to the total. Sheila, do you have a general, just a very rough figure on what those might be?
The workman's comp and liability?
Yeah.
No, we're meeting with them in the morning, right, Gary?
I'm sorry.
We're meeting with them at 9:30 in the morning
Yeah,
on those because our bill tripled almost, but it's because of that $2 million transaction that was done on December the 14th. They're assuming that went to the employees and they got approved. It didn't go through in order to be able to reduce it back down. So
We also have a reduction in workman's comp we've been working on for 2 or 3 months from,
In general,
yes.
but are we talking like $100,000, are we talking $10,000? I mean,
Well, the one reduction is $10,000 to $15,000.
Okay.
What he anticipated, we haven't seen it on paper yet. Now, what we're gonna get tomorrow with this $2 million, obviously, hopefully we can just pretty good, but we just.
Yeah, and that was off the top anyway, or, yeah, okay. That's more, hopefully cancel that one out more than anything, so, okay. And there might be some additional tweaks and some things in there that we might have left out. We'll double check that, but we put a lot of it together, yes.
On the coroner uniforms, the $400, was that the one where it was at
okay.
4,000 and then?
Yes, so that's a very good question. It turns out that the actual number that had been filed with the DLGF was the correct amount, which was 400. So there really wasn't anything.
we just reduced
To
it out of the
reduce.
line item, added 3,600 to make it back to 400, now it's 0.
If that makes sense, yeah, it was correct after all, so, yeah.
moot point.
Good question, Polly.
Okay, so,
Oh, and also the sheriff, since this morning, he had about $11,000 more in cuts, and those are in here as well. So, yeah, he provided a report.
This stuff is all stuff that they're presenting and so forth, are we required to make a motion in order for some of this stuff to occur?
Yeah, so the next step would be to do a budget reduction hearing on whatever related funds are involved here. And I'm not familiar with the advertising on that and that kind of thing, but we should do that before the end of the month. And there'd probably at least be a 10-day or some kind of a notice.
Sure.
So we kind of have that kind of puts us into a limited window, if you will, of when to conduct that meeting. So we should probably set a date for that.
Yes.
If the council's wanting to move forward with
if
that.
there's, what does your 28 and 29 look like, and is that soon enough before?
If you set it tonight, I can have it to her before 10 in the morning, and she'll have it in the paper by the 10-day prior.
And again, we need to talk, about whether or not you wanna meet earlier and as a work session as well to work through, some more alternatives. What we have in front of us is a $600,000 savings roughly. It's going to take more than that, and we had that discussion before we left today. But clearly, we've got to work through more alternatives, whether that be a reduction in our workforce or more savings. We're going to find out more from the insurance meeting, which is going to be hopefully really beneficial to us. But what's that?
In the recorder.
Yes, that's, and there was, in the commissioner's budget, we're going to have to look at some point too. And I think ours is mostly insurance related that really puts us, go ahead.
No, I said, just let's get the ball rolling. I make a motion that we have a budget reduction hearing and regular meeting on June 28th at 7 p.m.
Okay,
It's 2 weeks from today.
Motion on the floor, the budget reduction meeting at 7 PM on the 28th. It's a
And
Monday.
we also add, that we authorize the auditor to post that in the newspaper as required.
Okay. 28 June, how's that look for everybody?
Second.
Seconded by Anton.
So the question is it just a generic budget reduction advertisement, or do we have to be specific?
Have to be specific.
Because if we find some additional things that we need to add in, those would not be able to be considered, so we'd have to do something in the future, which is fine, but it's,
Yeah, but sorry. Sheila, how many days would we have ahead of time before that meeting to post in the boot paper?
If I don't have it to them by 10 tomorrow, they won't get it in the paper
Never mind then.
Thursday in order to have our 10-day prior.
yeah, I mean, we're obviously gonna proceed with what we have, and
Right.
that's good, but, any additional, we'll just do another hearing, or, whatever's needed at that point.
Jim, is there anything that we need to?
No, that's not correct. The budget, since there's been appropriations, we have to go through the same process for the reduction. So the advertisement, public hearing, and then a vote by the council to reduce or not to.
All right.
And then, go ahead.
Is this will be all that we address at each?
Well, that's kind of my next question is are we limited solely to that, or should we dual advertise for a regular meeting or like a?
Included a regular
Yeah,
meeting,
so
so we
maybe
would
we
be able
can,
to conduct business as well.
good, I think that's a good idea,
Yeah.
just in case
It's already in
there's
the motion.
something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0. 28th, 7 PM.
Because there could be some things we might want to go ahead and do in other areas, and we can go ahead and get them in, or if there's any other requests. Get that off, lighten up our July agenda, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Do I send this out to the department heads and have them look over it
Yeah,
hopefully early and by in the morning?
sure. We're gonna want them,
And we,
clearly invite them as well.
I'll email you an updated copy on that.
So, back to the point of the need for additional cuts. Is it best just to propose that we work with our department heads between now and then to look at other opportunities and then meet the same night for, additional ideas as far as cuts? Go from there.
Andy, I think once we get to the place we feel there's no more cuts we make, and we know what we gotta do to, which might be at our next meeting. We might look at that and realize there's no more areas to cut, we're gonna have to take a serious look at cutting this.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we ended the day today. Clearly, like you said, we want everybody to do as much as they can without getting to that point. So, but certainly, I think that'll be a discussion point at the meeting on the 28th. Okay, any more discussion on today's workshop or the 2021-22 budget? And
I had to leave at noon. Was there kind of a cumulative number that you were able to come up with based on what office holders told you?
so basically, Judge, that we took a cumulative amount of cuts. Did you get a copy of this?
I'm not sure what that is.
Well, the bottom line is we went through, and Anton and Sheila worked this afternoon on on putting that together. And so this is kind of phase one out of today. Then we're gonna meet on the 28th, to see what further reductions, can be made. Now, also, that gives us a chance to work through this insurance and see what opportunities there are, there. I think there's a couple more things that, feel we're able to work through everything, today on the accuracy of,
We still have to look at the perf. We're not gonna move, the highway stuff. We're gonna give him a couple more of his monthly cycles, just so that it's not a lump sum and taking all of his cash balance, but that's not part of the county general, so it won't affect the overall, what your goal is right now, getting the general fund out of the red.
so on the 28th, I would certainly invite all of you department heads, to kind of get a compass check of where we're at, and then, those discussions would be ongoing that night. Okay, anything else? Okay, moving along. New business, at this time I'll open the public hearing. Additional appropriations, Sheriff's Department, Highway Department, and 911 dispatch. And it looks like you got several in here.
That's a good question. The one that's on, the hold by SBOA, is that the first one, 17739?
Yeah, come on. If-
That is the one that amount ended up in, for whatever reason, in your December totals, but it does not show any expenses for that. So State Board of Accounts says leave it and that they will review it. She has said she has that money. If for some reason that she does still have to pay it, then she has enough in the budget.
But for that one, you had approved from them, is that what I'm
You won't need it, we're just keeping it on the radar because we don't know when they'll come in, so I would not include it in the totals tonight, no.
So I think I have five, 6 of them, something like that.
Yeah, we'll start with you. Do you have a copy of the sheriff's in here?
Those are just reviewing and making sure that we have them because he was changing numbers of them, so they've already been voted on at the last meeting.
Okay.
Some of those.
So, Kathleen.
Mhm.
Answer your question, I've got. Seven?
I would have to have another ones, that would be easier.
There's five.
Yeah, so there's 5 that are outlined per the summary. And then, there is the one we're holding.
The 17,000.
Yeah, and then there's another one that was for 1459. It was a correction that something was taken out of probation incorrectly, and so there's that also
Okay,
needs
I just
action.
don't have that one
So that's how I
with
got
me
this,
personally, so.
that's how I got the seven.
Okay.
So go ahead and include this tonight.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And so if you wanna start with the 1,400 and something, yeah, that is one from payroll. One of my people's payroll was processed out of probation last year, so this is, we've already made that transfer to probation, and then this is now sitting in my unappropriated for my 1222, so it's just making the appropriation from my cash funds to the unappropriated to make that balance back to zero.
Chairman. Make a motion to approve the following resolutions. State line 911, first one's 1459.19, an appropriation of 1235 into 122, 5,000. The second one, state line 911, amount of 100,000, appropriation of 1235 into 1222. Cover the fund, deficit, that fund. The amount of 2,200 for 911 contract services, appropriation 1235 cash balance.
The one for IDAX monthly payments.
The next one is 6,237.51 out of the state 911. Appropriate from 1222 to 1222, 400. The final one, 1825.67. Appropriate from the 1222 cash balance to 1222, 12,100.
Did you include the 32,379.40 for regular wages?
Which one?
32,379.40.
Let's see it.
Did you accept the friendly amendment to add the 32,379?
We don't have a second, so just give me a second here and let me read it off. Thank you very much. To include 32,379.40 state 911 appropriation cash balance.
Yeah.
Excuse me. 1235 into line item 1222, 11,300. That now it's complete. Thank you very much.
Was there 7?
No, the 17,000 is on hold till the SB.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Auditor,
Okay.
do you have that? Okay. Motion on the floor, with said. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Polly. Discussion. Go ahead.
So as they state in the explanation, several of these are rollover from 2020 where the appropriations did not occur in the December meeting. And then that's what most of them are, except the $2,200 one for the contract services. That is for the IoT service through IDAX. Originally, the sheriff's department had been paying for that because the dispatch center fell under the sheriff's department. But now since it's came over, that's just a monthly payment that I'm going to be making now, and hadn't accounted for that at budget time. But again, I still have cash funds that are available to cover that, so not asking you guys for any money.
That's all. Thank you.
We'll be the ones asking.
Any other questions? Hearing nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do.
Mhm.
Okay, Greg. Oh, Greg here?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, sir.
Good evening, council, ladies and gentlemen.
So we have your appropriations, you may want to, looks like 6 of them. Dated 2 for the 19th, 2 for the 25th, and 2 for the 26th. I'll give you all a chance to look over those.
Okay, how would you like me to start?
Well, really, I just want to give the council a chance to look over them, and if they've got questions for you, they can engage. If they want to make a motion, we can have a discussion after the motion. If you have anything you want to explain, that's.
Well, let me go ahead and explain some, ladies and gentlemen, just so, you understand. 65,136.04 is a request to move monies out of the cash balance into the appropriate lines. Those are monies that we receive for insurance claim on a truck. To pay for an accident that, where a truck was repaired. That is the reason we went ahead and paid for it, but it needs to come back down into,
that line.
Okay.
And then, there is another that is part of that same insurance claim. It was our assumption totally that the insurance company had paid for the recovery of that tandem dump, of a tandem dump truck. They did not. We were sent a check for that for $7,150, and we need that out of our balance and into our, into a line so we could pay the tow bill. Those are my big ones.
What truck was that?
It was, the Sterling that was flipped over.
No.
And then the other is for a well, both of them are overturns. The one is the Kenworth tandem that we had that was, turned over that went to Palmer. And then the $7,150 is the recovery for that Sterling that was turned over out of Gerard Chapter. So you're actually looking at two different accidents there.
So, just out of curiosity, what was the recovery bill for the other one? Is it in here?
I don't have that in front of me, but I'm thinking it was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $450.
So what's the disparity?
The disparity would be on how they are recovered. The one truck was a simple rollback over in the middle of the road. The Sterling that was recovered, they bought a large rotator truck out and they set it up and set it back out onto the road. From learning some of these ways of building records, and ladies and gentlemen, I used to be in the record business, but a lot of it's new. I'll tell them how I want to flip back over from now on. If I've got something that I don't think is a total loss laying out here on the ground, that needs picked up with kid gloves, then we'll have them pick it up with kid gloves. If it looks like it's a big problem or not, or something very simple, we'll have to specify how these things are recovered.
Okay, so we got the two.
And then, the next,
Interesting.
in regard to fund restricted motor vehicles, special projects, we had, two repairs that had to be made, emergency replacement on Hancock School Road, of a large culvert. And then, we had to make a repair on Moore Road. So we just need to move the money there, the 26,560, to square that up, and we have the money, it just needs brought down into a line. Local road and street, during, budget hearings, we asked, for monies to be appropriated for culverts into local road and street. There's always just been two lines, bituminous and stone. It was our belief up until actually Rachel reached out to Anton and we got on DGLF to look, and there was never any monies appropriated as we thought. So we have money in that account, it just needs appropriated into that line because we have spent 4 culverts out of local road and street instead of 1135 bridge. So that is the reason we're requesting those monies be taken care of, be moved.
And that is an allowable use from Road and Street?
It is.
Just want to make sure. So for, yeah, because there's only been 2 line items there, so for 2022, we probably should add a line item.
Yes, and
For,
ladies and gentlemen, as long as we're faced, as of today, because we've replaced one, we still have 210 culverts. And you've heard me speak about those from time to time again in council meetings and commissioners meetings that are WPA. I mean, it's fantastic that they lasted over 90 years, 92 years, some of them's been in the ground. with a little, history lesson. It looks like there was probably an engineer on each one of those sites, and if he said put in 2 scoops, well, then somebody put in 2 scoops and they've lasted that long. But, at any time, we could lose more. They have served us well, but sometimes, they have also put us in the situation we should have probably replaced them 20 years ago.
Speaking of that, do you wanna put a plug out to the public, about the culvert that's on, got deals right now? I think it's got 3 days left.
Oh,
Anybody bid on that yet? I saw that.
yeah, we, there was a culvert, that, is out on Steubenville Road, that, is too heavy for us to lift. We basically, like I told the commissioners, we wallered it out of the hole to get it up out of there, but, we have that on guvdeals.com for sale. It's an old railroad car. It was replaced, because, it was causing a suck hole in the road. The car itself was good, but, you know, they have different openings in them that was welded, and the steel in one of those openings had.
I think as of yesterday, it's at $1.
Yes.
So good luck loading it, don't call me.
I was gonna bid on it until I figured out the cost of how much it would cost.
Yeah. All right, listen, get back to
I think it
your,
was at $22 before we.
Oh.
Mr. Chair, can I start with one?
as long as you're finished.
I'm good, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted you to explain we weren't being frivolous and overspent. A lot of this is just insurance claims and emergencies that, had a little housekeeping.
Proceed, Chuck.
Thank you. In the amount of $26,561.80 from MVH restricted special roads project 1133001 for the emergency replacement on Hancock and Moore Road. 10,000 local road and street 116930101 request for 10,000 in the cash pass for special projects. 65,136.04 MVH 1176232200. And that's to put the insurance claims back into the proper funds. 7150 MVH contract services 11763000. Insurance claims for tow bill 2,468.32 for the MVH loader 1764000. There's a negative balance in that account. And 100,000 for local road and street 1169236000. Is request out of cash balance into culverts.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam Auditor, do you have all that? Okay, discussion? So Chuck's motion, Nick's second. Okay, hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank Sheila, Jim, and Dick, for
Coming together.
all of this. We sat down and went through all to try to clean things up, and there were several transfers too because of things that weren't appropriated. I just thank
Were all
everybody.
those okay?
These, yes, I changed one of them. It's in the same series, so.
That's good.
But these still all will be done, hopefully within a week or so, right, all of those will be good to go, especially with the appropriations.
Then we have one more thing, we sent in a formal request for the council to create a line item for Fund 4201, the roadside fund, sign fund. There was approximately $3,540.70 in there that we could use for signs. So I'm requesting a line account.
Is this part of the public? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Now, as far as your fund, 4201, and it's gonna be the roadside fund. You currently have what amount in there?
$3,540.70.
And are you? Okay. Is there a motion out there to create this?
Well, so the fund already exists, but you're wanting a line item, an appropriation that's kind of standing in there?
Yeah, so we could use for signs.
What is the annual revenue typically in that fund?
I did not have access to this fund until recently.
I'm not sure on what.
I think only
what
3
comes in.
deposits from the sheriff's department maybe because we moved this year. It's an ordinance.
Yeah, it's the ordinance where, local speed ordinance, and part of it goes towards fuel reimbursement fund, and the other part goes to this, roadside fund, right? Okay. And then what was the amount of the line item you were wanting?
The amount that's currently in there right now? 3,540.7 cents.
Yeah,
Part of our problem, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're just here to speak about numbers, but the commissioners know this, and, Sam knows this, but they steal them as fast as we put them up.
oh,
Now,
yeah.
what is, without, okay, so with the post, what is your typical road sign cost?
Typical stop sign, is going to run me $68.
And that's with,
The sign and the post,
No, that's the sign.
just the sign.
You have to shop the post, depends on when, Dakota may answer that better, but I think those specific posts are about $22 a piece.
so roughly close to $100.
$100 to replace one. Now, we have, been turning in, if we have one damaged in a traffic accident, we do file the claim to, get them back from those, we get the
Yeah,
monies back, but, that really comes few and far between. We lose more to theft than anything.
Is there some special signs that they like more than
Not the drunkard's drive. Yeah, drunkard's drive, that was
I lose Drunkard's Pike, we lost,
no more possum
for,
trucks.
for an example, we set fresh oil signs out today. Absolutely know they were there. I know they were there on both ends. 45 minutes later, the sign on the far up on the Smithfield end was gone. So you set them out to warn people and they're going as fast as we put them up. I'll give you an example for cones, ladies and gentlemen. We have an inventory of cones right now, and I have to set those out just for public safety, but we bought 100 cones with the grant 2 years ago. I have 6 left.
Okay, so hence the need.
So the question is why wouldn't we just do an appropriation for that total, and then they can spend from it for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
The trouble with the line item is that the line item just stays there.
Right.
And if that's more a balance and the revenue's really not there,
Right.
then we kinda
I
wanna,
think
you know what I mean? Is that?
Yeah, there's just no way, as of right now, to really do anything with that fund.
So is that just do an appropriation?
With all the theft, does that look like an adequate amount of money? I mean, that's 32 sums roughly if you split.
It'll help out.
Better than zero.
I would just put everything in supplies, so there's a number connected with it. I mean, cause it doesn't matter what you buy, it's going to be.
Appropriated into
whatever.
supplies.
So
And since it's a local ordinance fund,
we don't have to.
we don't really need
You don't
to,
have to do an additional appropriation.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we do allow the appropriation of the cash balance towards supplies in that fund.
Second.
You, so that's from Fund 4201 to the supplies. Okay. Motion made by Anton, seconded by Chuck. Further discussion? And now I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0.
And Greg, just your education, traffic cones is outside of my property, it's bought by auction, and it's you.
Hope you got receipts.
Take a look at that on the house.
There are receipts, if you're not a stop sign on it.
There's no words on it.
All right, thank you, guys. Brett.
That's not as fast as you would like.
Okay, next agenda item is economic development, Mater Mill. How are you?
Was there anything I need to do with mine, appropriation?
She was told me that yours was,
Yours have already all been approved, we just wanted to reaffirm, and in discussion with Jim, we feel that there's a form that really needs to be acknowledged by the council, in each of the meetings. So we just are gonna reaffirm that your numbers, that they were already there, so.
okay, good evening.
Good evening, my name is Carl Erickson, my partner Scott Mater was taken sick today, so he's at home in bed. So he unfortunately couldn't join us.
Nice.
I played off here for moral support.
Good to see you, Craig. Okay, let me, you're on track here, we've got your packet. Just give me 1 second, we're kind of shifting gears.
Sure.
Has the COVID affected your?
So our timing in opening the sawmill and investing $2.1 million could have been worse. Unfortunately, no one saw the global pandemic and the economic chaos that ensued coming. And we'd only been in production a few months before we started feeling the effects. And the effects that we felt have been originally in 2020, a drastic drop in orders. We went actually down to 15% of our capacity in the month of May. That was the bottom point. And it's been coming back since that point. We're up to about 50% of our capacity. Currently, we have twice as many orders as we can cut. What we can't get is logs, and we can't hire enough people to do the work. So those are the two bottlenecks in our business right now.
Speaking of bottlenecks, there's a requirement that certain items are met, and we talked in passing about that, Craig, a little bit, but I'd like to hear, you know, what those are that aren't met. You know, if the items are met, then that's great, and the rest of you guys can ask what you want, but the things that aren't met in this packet, I'd like to hear about first, so if you could address those.
Sure. I think the abatement was tied to a significant capital investment. We exceeded the amount we projected. So we originally projected 2.11 million, we're at 2.139 million over the course of the 3-year project. So we've exceeded that one. At the time we made the request, we projected that we would have 29 jobs over the course of those 3 years by the end of the 3rd year. And we're at that first milestone, nearly at the first milestone. So we've got 14 employees right now total. We need about 16 or 17 to have a full shift, a single shift fully staffed. I believe we're gonna be there by August, which was what the original plan was. So we're on plan, but we're not to the end of the 3rd year yet. And then we projected that by the end of the 3rd year, our average wage would be $18.51 per hour. I updated the data from last week's payroll, and across the whole company right now, our average wage is $18.89. So we're exceeding the average wage, which is earlier than we expected to be able to do it. So I think we've met that one. And we're hoping that conditions get a little more normal in the market for hiring, for labor, and a little more normal just in terms of the demand and supply balance, so that we can add that second shift.
Okay,
But honestly, it's a little hard to be encouraged given the crazy things happening in the last 18 months.
So, I understood. What's the employee requirement or benchmark? Right
29 by the end of August 2022. So we got another year.
now? 22.
That's right. It's a 3-year goal of getting there to that 29.
Okay, and it looks like you're meeting the wage average already. So what are the other conditions that, I guess, need to be met either now or by the 3rd year for this?
I think they're now in pretty good shape based on what's happened with COVID recovering and getting back where they are. We were pretty impressed when partner Scott came in and answered our question. We had a committee with EDC to answer, hey, yeah, what's going on?
And we were pretty impressed with what we did to survive, so we can keep in business. I think the challenge for them to get to that 29 by August 2022, and I think they're on track to going in the right direction, they're paying the right rate. It's just finding the people that want to come get paid.
What do you start your wages out at?
$14 an hour is the lowest person paid right now. And that our wage has gone up since the beginning, overall wage has gone up 11% since the beginning of the year. And I suspect it's not over yet. And I believe if you talk to any business owner, they're running into the same thing.
I can't remember, was this a 5-year abatement that we did?
10-year. 10-year equipment. I don't know whether those abatements were the percentage.
Do you have any questions?
I think we ought to continue it. I think get everybody hard and the restrictions get everybody hard. This is a business I believe has been growing.
Okay, Craig, you speak for our economic development folks, so tonight we would endorse this as well.
We would endorse it.
Anything else? Anyone else? All right, at this time, I'll call a vote for continuing the tax abatement. Kenny, do you have anything on this, by the way?
I think we've got all of the required paperwork done.
Do we revisit this then in 2022?
Yes.
Okay, because
Every year.
and you're planning on running 2 shifts,
That's the hope.
but employees are hard to keep also, right? For
Turnover's been
various reasons.
pretty hard.
But to answer your questions, they'll have to have there's a Form CF1 compliance form they have to fill out every year over the course of this whole abatement. So
There's
that'd
2
be
blocks.
something, not only if they make that
This is the
goal
hearing result,
in
is that?
2022, we'll continue to monitor and maintain that
Okay.
every year, so they'll have to be accountable for that.
All right,
Make a motion to approve the abatement.
okay. Motion on the floor by Chuck,
Something.
second by Nick. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0.
Thank you. There was some, appreciate the support very much. There was some talk about having Scott sign the SB1 forms when he was in the meeting here. So if we don't have signed forms, I can have him bring them back tomorrow, assuming he's well.
Is that not the form he signed?
This is
Should be the real.
CF1 on real property. No, I think there's another form in here.
Jim, that won't be an issue.
Here's this
I
one,
mean, you voted.
Andy, the CF1.
Is it, yeah, and there's a section 6, do I need to sign there?
No, that is the taxpayers' certification, so I'm assuming it's their president.
Okay.
So I'll take this back to Scott.
And the one he's signing. He needs to sign it, and then you need to bring me back the original, because that's what I have to sign.
Would you attest that, please?
Oh, I got a question for you. On the
Well,
sheriff's
sir, we
highway department.
wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. It's gonna take a little bit
Who
of time.
seconded it, the dispatch?
Well, me personally, Scott, I'd rather Scott.
It's not in there, so.
You're gonna stay here for the same.
Thank you. Thanks.
I know Chuck, we voted, just 'cause curious. Sheila probably has it.
All right, so next, we have the
Appropriation.
comprehensive plan grant match, and Craig, why don't you go ahead and discuss that?
Okay, I'll give you a little background. We began the comprehensive plan process back in February. It's kind of a continuation of a lot of things that are in play. This particular plan will carry the county forward for the next 10 years. And it's gonna cover a lot of things. It's gonna tie a lot of things into economic development. Zoning's gonna come up, just a lot of different areas. And, already is putting in place a plan that EDC put out a year or two ago, and that'll tie into it fairly well. There's gonna be a lot of input and development, tie-in between the council, commissioners, and all the key players. I think you look at what's going on in the community. So it's a pretty important plan. And what we're looking at here tonight is we have the opportunity to get a $60,000 grant from Okra. And it just takes a match of $6,700 to get there. From what I understand from Marcy, she couldn't be here tonight because she's in a conference, but they've done the surveys and on the edge of having what they need for that. I guess one person went out and met someone with a gun and underwear, and they still got the surveys, so they've been working hard to get these surveys done. But there'll be a public hearing on the plan June 21st. But for now, we're just trying to get the match in place.
And Jim, weigh in here, and Amy as well. You know, I'm hearing that, you know, it's recently come up in planning and zoning board decisions that, you know, some of the stuff need, the existing plan needs updated. And so what does all this mean for us, you know, as far as from planning and zoning perspective?
It's absolutely required. The last one, from my memory, but I believe the comprehensive plan is over 12 years old. It's clearly over 10 years old. The comprehensive plan is the basic guideline of any plan commission zoning. So anything that comes in by Indiana statute, the whole 906 series that comes in out of Title 36, you have to go through there, and then any zoning request, they're required to look at the comprehensive plan. So it's absolutely essential. Recommendations, 10 years has exceeded any recommendation you're going to get on how soon that should be revisited. This is clearly necessary, and it's clearly timely.
We recently contracted with SB Research, which has been involved in the community for a long time in different economic studies. They have very good proposals. Another one from Taylor's Cipher-Williams that shows SB Research as a close margin. Part of that was their community involvement and experience, where they're already very aware of a lot of the issues we have here. And anytime you can get a grant and just get it by some matching, it's a win-win for sure. Pay for all that to keep this thing going. It's a 10-year plan going forward. So we're pretty excited about it. I appreciate the chance to come here and just ask for help to get that taken care of and keep it moving along.
Give me 1 second, Craig. You guys can.
Can you clarify, this is set aside out of what we get for this, for economic development?
No, the amount that's in the edit fund is the annual contract for the chamber and the Economic Development Corporation. This is a one-time deal, and I think when we talked during budget hearings, we did mention that we would commit to that. It's a very small match, but it probably should be taken out of the edit balance, you know, towards that, or anything else that someone suggests, but it wouldn't be the general fund, obviously.
How's it looking on that addition on 43? Is it coming along okay, or?
We'll actually have another hearing this Friday to get some more answers from the developer on that. He peppered it with a lot of questions at the last meeting. But the plans are coming together and moving ahead. It's just a matter of getting everyone's comfort on making sure we're satisfied with how they're moving ahead.
Okay, so, cause I hear you say that edit is.
It's just a thought.
I mean, edit or riverboat is basically.
Yeah, it'd be one of those two.
Was
that it require policy?
It has to be advertised, normal advertisement.
A river doesn't,
Riverboat needs
It still
advertisement
has to
too.
be advertised.
Greg, has the commissioners signed off on this? Have they looked at what they?
Gary, we were told from Gary that they were in support of this.
Okay.
It's gone before the commissioners. Marcy brought it.
It's been walking before, I don't know where it went.
Marcy brought it before the commissioners at a couple different meetings, and each step of the way, they had to do the survey and the different things that were required. And this is just the next step to get the $6,700 for the matching grant.
Good question, you want to make sure they're on board?
Well, yeah, it's, if we could do that and they could just throw the trash can, you know.
Right.
They have to be on board.
And we're moving to good support on this one.
Thank you.
So 67 and change or 67,
6,700 even, from my understanding.
okay?
let's make a motion to advertise, have the auditor advertise the amount of $6,700 for the matching grant in the Okra for economic development. And we take it up.
Okay. A motion on the floor by Chuck for the advertisement of $6,700 for comprehensive plan, matching fund for the Okra grant, and to be advertised for the next meeting.
Paid from where?
No, I did forget that, didn't I?
Sorry.
Riverboat.
Out of Riverboat. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Anton. Discussion. I mean, it's one of those two funds, so.
It's one of those things where it's a catch-22, we're between a rock and a hard place. Is that enough euphemisms for me to throw out there? Because considering it's not really, it's not coming from the general fund where we have, it's coming out, we're gonna go ahead and do this out of Riverboat. We know we've got a share, a fair chunk, and we're still gonna use Riverboat to assist the general fund, but this isn't gonna hurt that amount.
I will ask Jim, is there benefit, one fund over the other at this point?
No, I mean, it's truly the pleasure of the council, but it's just, I would just follow up though, I mean, it is absolutely necessary.
Sure.
If you've got to have a comprehensive plan.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and all those in favor? 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna learn to watch over this. This will be a success for everybody.
Yes, sir. We appreciate your service to the town.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care. I'm excited about the lives that we have for opportunities.
Well,
I know we got some tough things to deal with. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. I've heard that.
All right, so next we have the hiring freeze application waivers.
G2.
Yeah, I'm seeing a jailer, soil and water, and the third one, right? Is it 3 or 2? 911, oh, I'm sorry, got it.
So there wasn't one for highway?
There wasn't one for that.
Oh, okay.
And because he had asked the last time to replace and didn't come in.
Okay. Scratch that one off. Did you get the confirmations I sent this afternoon? Gosh, I emailed that. That's weird. There were 13 of them on your email.
Okay, so let's do the sheriff first. Bill, so basically, under federal guidelines, we have to hold the position for Mr. Westgate.
Right, and
Until,
he's due to return, first of January, so come first of January, we have to put him back on the payroll anyway. With him being gone, it's caused me a shortage, so I'd like to fill out a temporary hire for the, duration of his employment until January first, when he returns.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve the sheriff's request for the exemption from county freeze. And because I'm familiar with the soil and water, we should approve that one as well.
okay, so a motion on the floor by Chuck to approve both Owen County freeze exception forms. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Amy. Further discussion?
Okay, so real quick for clarification, Bill. I had where there was already a person in that spot because he had left on military leave. So did that person leave since?
I don't know who you have in that spot. I have two different military
Right.
openings right now. One is a National Guard activation, and the other one is a regular Army deployment to Iraq. We've had a lot of turnovers. I don't know who you have in that spot, but currently I am one short.
Well, we have a new hire that is a part of our confirmation summaries for activity in the last 30 days to fill the spot for the gentleman that's on leave until September the 30th.
Right, I have, that position is filled.
Okay.
That's the most recent hire that,
Then I had a note for another position that had been held by Edson Westgate III, which is EJ here, due to military leave. But I already had a person, there had been a person hired for that. It was a Lane.
yeah, okay, so he was in a temporary spot, and then a permanent spot opened, and he moved into the permanent spot.
Okay.
Opened that temporary spot back up again.
So who are we missing then would be the question.
You should have 10, besides myself and the assistant commander, you should have 10 other staff members.
So we've got 13 positions total,
Correct.
minus you and the assistant commander, so that's 11.
Right.
I'm wondering if one of these folks have left, just not, I've not updated.
Okay. Recent ones that have left, if you have Connor Robinson on there, he left.
That's off, yeah,
Charles Paget has left.
okay. Yeah.
Stephanie Robinson left.
Why don't you, if you don't mind, come up here real quick and look at this list? Yeah, just to make sure we have an opening.
Right.
Which I'm sure you do, you would know, but,
Count them just to make sure.
I wanna make sure, okay, this is the list right here.
Right there.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go, thank you.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Thank you for the update on that.
Alright. So motion on the floor by Chuck, seconded by Amy. There's implications to these freeze exemption forms based on the work that we have ahead of us. clearly, all of these positions are positions that, you know, are, there's one soil and water, person, jail division. It's a, you know, it's just, I do have some reluctance right now on some positions, you know, but I think that personally, we've got two requirements we've gotta meet here. Sir?
Andy, what is the cost to us, on the soil and water, what part do we pay in that?
Yeah, so we're on I think the cost share, Corbin, you probably know the dollars and cents.
Yeah, so currently with the current employee, this is kind of sort of oriented, I mean, not here, a couple years ago, we hired Devin, and he, we actually hired him at the wrong salary, so that's why I came to the board and asked for a cost share, we did appropriation. So this new hire would go back to the original salary that there, so there wouldn't be additional appropriation from the soil and water to fund that account, but it would be whatever the county is.
Okay, so with the new hire, there's no cost.
We'll go into that additional appropriation. Correct?
Okay.
So that additional appropriation that we're taking out of our general fund and giving to the county, the salary or her salary, that will go away.
You're suspending it.
Yeah, we're suspending that, so it'll be just whatever the current, with the income and the numbers for us over the weekend. There to make sure that so when we post a position, it'll be the right salary.
Andy, what I'd like to state, I looked at something earlier where we were cutting an employee out of the clerk's office. Is this a constitutional office, something that we have to fund?
The soil and water?
Yes.
I don't know that it's constitutional, you know, is it critical to farmers in the county? I believe so, but that's me, I can't speak to the constitutionality or, you know, any kind of mandate.
Yeah, I think the mandate would probably be better.
Legislatively.
Legislatively, yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not, if anybody else can educate me on it,
Insight on that.
Well, my question is, I know we got a freeze on it, we can waive that and allow this to happen. And I probably have no problem with that, other than we're looking at really doing some cutting. I wanna make sure that we follow a guideline and everybody gets fair. Because once this thing happens, you know, and we go to some office holders and we say to them, you're gonna have to cut a staff member.
Sure.
And they look at us and they say, okay, I have a constitutional office here in the courthouse, such as whatever, and that you've allowed other offices outside of that arena hire an employee. Now, what part do we pay all the salary for them?
Yes.
We pay all the salary for the individual?
Yes.
That's the concern I have, I just wanna make sure, you know.
I think a great follow-up question, Corbin, how long did we go without having a soil and conservation director?
How long can we go without it? I feel like we can't go a week without it, because the grant funding and grants that are bringing money into the county. Once we leave one person out, the deadline is critical for getting all of our applications in, so we have a vacancy for more than a few days. We're not keeping meeting our deadlines anymore, so we're not getting grants to help fund the conservation in the county at that point.
And for edification for the council, how much in grants do we have currently out there as opposed to last year, what we brought in?
Right now, I don't have that number in front of me. That would be Devin Brown's question. He's the one that manages all that for us. He's the current executive director. And that's where I feel like this position is already in the budget for this year. We're not hiring a new person. We're just replacing the person that's leaving with that position. So I feel like we've already budgeted the money for this, so it's not actually, it's already in the current system. So we're not adding expense, I guess, in my argument here.
Well, and so is a lot, I mean, so is, and that's,
yeah.
You know, what this comes down to is, Nick, if I can, you know, that's asking the questions you're asking is, is why we, exist, to try to figure out what the priorities are. I feel like in a lot of ways, it's kind of like this. If you're not involved in agriculture, the bottom line is timber's our number one industry. We've got a lot of crops, a lot of those things, water. There's a lot that probably goes on behind the scenes that we don't even take into consideration with Devin's position. And if you remember, I know it was right whenever I came on board, we bought this property out here. So we do have some skin in the game with this, beyond the salary that we pay. And just reminding you all of that.
Well, the main thing of it is just a one-man show, really. I mean, if, you just got one person involved, I don't think that, we could do without that period, because they do help a lot of farmers and stuff, and I don't think that you could, cut that off completely, and besides that, it ain't like having a bunch of employees. I mean, if we didn't okay that, they would cut them out.
And Andy, I have a question. In the motion, we combined the two requests, right?
Sure. He did.
Right. So, do we wanna look at those separately?
We would have to deal with his motion first.
Well, we're definitely gonna do one of them, and we're discussing it now, so to separate it.
Can amend it.
Seems to be superfluous.
Okay.
What other questions do we have regarding?
So the motion is for both of them?
Right.
Yes.
So this position, they deal with the grant writing and everything?
Is he,
Basically, what he's the clearinghouse between the state and the National Soil Water Council, basically for anything, so any project, any landowner in the county that wants to do any project, they would have to work for Devin to get the funding, especially the cost share funding from the ISJ, State Department of Agriculture, or the NRCS. And basically any conservation, any question that comes through the county, it comes through our office there at the soil water office.
has he done resign already and left the position?
No, he'll be leaving in July. I believe July 7th is where his time. So what I'm asking is to allow me to start interviewing his replacement. So whenever he leaves, we have someone replacing that.
Do you have anyone in mind?
What?
Do you have any?
No, we've not started applying. We've not started accepting applications yet. So that's why once I get your guys' approval, then I can start posting and looking for that application.
And you're ahead of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would also say that he not only liaisons with the federal and state agencies, but liaisons with farmers.
Correct. He's that middleman that gets people the funding that they need, basically, to any conservation practice they want to do on their farm or in the county, they have to go through him, so we make sure he gets the right people involved in that conversation.
And back to, I think, his question, you have no clue off the top of your head, either last year or the year before, how much money.
Well, I know in 2019, last time we made a contribution statement for what the county put into, which I forget the total budget, but it was, we ended up bringing in, I think, like $300,000, $400,000, something like that. Was close to $500,000 back into the county as far as an ROI goes in.
Thank you.
I believe he's correct on that.
That's been 2 years ago, last time I looked at the numbers.
I will say that that office has always been good about briefing us each year on what they're doing, with what our contribution is. So, we have a motion, we have a second. Polly, did that answer, did you have anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I have one more question just on the jailers. The way I was understanding it was it's just a temp position and then Westgate is coming back, and I've done this all day, so I may have missed that.
Yes, he's currently deployed with the Army in Iraq.
Right.
And he's due to return in the beginning of January. And under federal law, we have to hold his job for him. So when he comes back, he will be reassuming his position, and the tenth employee would then be, terminated.
Good, that's why I was
It's
thinking.
not an additional,
Right.
it's filling in that gap.
That for him, okay.
Would serve outside of the position.
Okay. Hearing nothing further from the council, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0. All right, I appreciate you being here, Bill, you as well.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Paul.
No problem.
Okay, SCCAP appointment. South Central Community Action. Is that in here?
Have we got a candidate?
There we go.
I don't see one.
No.
Dear council members. 90 days of the day you appoint, it's dated May 25th. So basically, we need to find somebody within 90 days of May 25th. So this is informational, and we need to tell, do you have somebody?
No, just have the letter.
Okay,
Can we put an advertisement in the papers, letting them know that we have an appointment available?
tell them the pay is really good.
Same as the county employee. Yeah, might not advertise that.
We just won't tell until we hire them.
Your job.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we,
Take it under advisement?
we take it under advisement and we advertise, just a little blurb, something. I'll put it out on internet
I'll
if
second.
anyone's interested, so.
Okay, motion on the floor by Anton, seconded by Chuck, take the matter under advisement. Do I hear anything further? Hearing nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. JRAC board appointment.
And real quick, as far as like, for the advertisement, what kind of deadline? What would be a reasonable time if someone was interested to turn their name in by?
Well, they say we have 90 days, why don't we just,
One
we get
August.
2/3 of that, go 60 days.
So maybe something in advance of like an August meeting,
Yeah,
is that right?
because that way we would have a name prior to the August meeting.
Because we'd have about a month
Yeah.
and the deadline and,
I'll just put July 31st as a deadline,
okay.
and that'll let it come into your August meeting.
Okay, moving along to JRAC, it's a new position. Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council. So, Judge, you guys wanna speak to this?
It's a new requirement, one of those deals where you have to have another board. We're kind of shooting under someone under the advisory board because most of those people have say in a lot of other components in the county, so it's trying to have how to spend your work wisely, how to spend your time better, you know, what we can do with the mental health component a little bit. I've kind of talked to Bill a little bit about it and others, but essentially need a member from the council to be on the board. So I thought you were maybe on the advisory board. So we're gonna try to have these double dip on our meetings through the advisory board, and then after that one's done,
Yeah.
come back in and do this one to try to do some time management. So if he.
There is some overlap.
Fine with that, if not, we just
Yeah.
need one of you to find.
You guys can't swing a dead cat without having a board
Yeah,
appointment.
right.
It brings in grant money, I will say.
So, I assume you're willing to do this?
Yeah, I'm willing to do it unless someone else, you know.
I make a motion that we go ahead and appoint Anton Neff to the JRAC board.
Okay, motion on the floor by Chuck, do I hear a second?
I do.
Seconded by Verl. Further discussion? Go forth and do great things. Call for a vote. 7-0.
Is doing great things. That young man is.
All right, Thank you for today. Highway Department's no longer here. I think he's probably covered most of his stuff.
Now, the sheriff, though, was ahead of him. There's an item on here.
Bill?
Wait a minute. Oh, what about the sheriff firearms?
No,
No.
Is that, it
It's
is a
from April.
transfer, I was gonna bring, all the transfers up under me.
Okay.
And I mean, if you wanna do it right now, we're waiting on Greg, it basically, they were taking it from a 2000 series to a 3000 series. Without the money in the fund, it's just.
So it's just a transfer.
Is that the only transfer on our agenda? Why don't we just wait on it for the others? Okay.
All right, Bill has, been willing to, give up some of his perpetuation fund to help the county, and I wanna thank you, for that. You weren't here, the last time we brought it up or discussed it. I know you did go before the commissioners and discussed it, but I wanna thank you on behalf of the council for that. Jim, what's,
We got a resolve, talk to everyone there, so this is actually a very, very great gesture by the surveyor. So the building salary is clarified now, it's going to 100% come out of 4908. So what I can have it ready now, since we've got that clarified. So there was a building 2 out of the general fund and part of that's all squared away. So at your next meeting, what we can have is a resolution, so what I'll need is I'll prepare an affidavit for the surveyor, an affidavit for the building GIS coordinator, and an actual resolution. It will look very similar to what the recorder perpetuation fund resolution. And then beginning upon, if it's adopted and approved by the council, by August 1st, then 20% of the salary from the surveyor's fund can then go directly for the payment of the GIS coordinator.
appreciate that, appreciate it.
So your target for action again is at which of our meetings?
Well, I could probably have it ready for the 28th, if you'd like to have it ready for the 28th.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay, so I'll plan on the 28th, that sounds fine.
For June 28th. And the other question is, will the numbers be pro rata for the balance of the year, or can it be retroactive to January 1st?
It would have to start upon your adoption. So if it's passed on June 28th, it'd be the first payroll.
In July?
In July.
Okay, so effective in July.
Real quick, Bill, I'm not clearly, again, I preface this with many thanks, and I know that you came to the county suggesting this. However, today we went through, by department and looked at ways to cut costs. Is there any, where else in your yearly budget, that?
I don't have a yearly budget other than my salary.
Okay.
There is, I carry my own cell phone, I pay for my own postage, what little postage it is, it's not worth filing a claim for.
Okay.
So the only thing we're dealing with is my salary and a perpetual.
Got it, thank you.
Here's your mileage from my.
Okay. Appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you, Bill and Jim and Suzanne for working.
Do we need to, we don't need to do anything until
No,
that's.
for the 28th, you guys will need one signed affidavit, another signed affidavit, and then the rest.
12:02.
Okay, next point of business, we're just, I know we haven't taken a break, but. Yeah. Auditor job description approval.
We basically just took the 2 current job descriptions that were in there and just cut and paste them together because each one has a few different requirements. Some of it might seem redundant, but parts of it have HIPAA compliance, parts of it has, from
FLMA.
the FLMA, the insurance insides and stuff. So again, I just put them all there and it's the same, obviously it'd be less, but it's coming in at the beginning salary amount at $15,797, I believe it is. And again, as we said earlier, I give up for the payroll ends of things, that position's gone no matter what, and this is combining the two of them, so that we have a backup for both the counter and the payroll deputy.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we adopt it with notation for the record that, you know, even though this is kind of in the new format, that since we really hadn't fully adopted and changed up how we do the structure for pay, that it is gonna be compliant with our wage and salary structure and our current way of categorizing things. But other than that, looks good.
Motion on the floor by Anton, seconded by Chuck to adopt the position description of assistant payroll and property transfer deputy.
And she was at full-time, or is that part-time? That's full-time. And that, there's a spot in the budget for that right now?
Yes.
Okay.
We already approved the exception at the last meeting for that position.
Any other discussion? None, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, thank you. Okay. Department transfer fund request, now these are, is this what we were just talking about?
Yes. The only one that was in your packet, again, is the one on the firearms and taking it from one series to the other. The funds are there in that particular fund, and it's not part of county general.
And what about the others that were in here? Are they also transfers? For the sheriff and Westgate.
On the vehicle, yes, that was a transfer, and I believe we were waiting because it was in part of the county general, so we have to wait on that one.
So just wait until next, can we do that on June 28th?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's others that I didn't put in there, as we were telling you earlier, for Donna. They were additional appropriations or their transfers. State Board of Accounts says as long as it was something that was approved by the state when they did the budgets, that it's okay to go ahead and put them in there. It's not considered an additional appropriation. She also had multiple transfers as well to try to get the funds and the line items correct. So I'm asking permission to let Donna come in and sit down and we go through and we get them per what the state approved the budget for, and to make sure that her monies are in the right line items. And we'll bring a final copy back to you guys at the next meeting. But she's running in the red. She, again, as she said earlier, she didn't have budgets even entered last year at all. And I believe there's 2 this year that aren't even entered. They were approved, they were on the original council approval list, and as long as the amounts do not increase, then State Board of Accounts says we can go ahead and include them.
I don't think we need a vote, but I certainly would
I
endorse.
would, just so that you got it twice. I mean, you voted in the budget hearings, but if you'll give us permission to work on these, and we'll bring the final numbers back.
Just for the record, since it's by Zoom and others are here, that can you underline the fact that it wasn't, she's never been in the red, she's never overspent. That was an error created by the previous auditor. Whether it was negligently or intentionally, but it's, you know, when it comes out in the paper, office heads are spending money they're not supposed to. I want it very clear that it wasn't our department that caused that error, it was somebody else's.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the request as presented, and to also include the transfer funds of 560, should have took my glasses like that. 56030 firearms supplies to firearms and other charges and services line item 115630 100.
I second.
And got your narrative, Judge, not a part of it, but.
And also after this vote, I want to say something.
Just wanna let you know the firearms fund no longer receive any money, none, government bids anymore, thanks to state legislation. Appreciate that very much from the state. So we have enough money right now to carry us for a little bit. Future down the road, will have to be money appropriated for firearms and ammunition. We no longer receive any money for this.
You don't have an opinion on this, do you?
I got one thing.
Okay, motion on the floor, by Chuck, second by Nick. Transfer, for firearms, and then the approval for you two, being done and proceed with ironing things out, come back to us for a vote, at our next meeting. Anything further? Nothing else, I'll call for a vote. Favor? 7-0.
I'm in, Mr. President. I asked
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge Quinn, for bringing that, Quill, I'm sorry. I mixed Chelsea's and bringing them together. Did you hear that? I mixed Chelsea's and bringing them together. Okay, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I got a thing that I'm pretty, I've done this before, and it wasn't taken seriously. So I'm gonna do it again, because we need transparency here, and because of possible, as was stated by Judge Lori there, and I'm not gonna mess her name up again. I am going to make a motion that we recommend to the county commissioners that we seek out a forensic audit company, not an audit company, a forensic audit company, to do an audit on this county for the last 16 years, okay? The company that they look at should have no connections to the state of Indiana, no connections to the county of Owen, and no connections to law enforcement. An independent, entirely company that could come in and do a complete forensic audit. And this will let us know, finally, that where we stand, and we will be transparent with the public. And also, I'd like to add this into this motion, that based on a stipulation, or make it a stipulation, that if the forensic audit company recommends we go back even farther, that we would do so. So that's my recommendation to the county commissioners.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor by Chuck, to go back the time period of 16 years for a forensic audit to take place, and if recommended, go back further than that, and that this be taken to the county commissioners for.
Well, they're the ones who can contract it, and we're the ones who finance, so that, it has to go to them.
Right.
They would say, yes, we'd be willing to do this, find the company, and come back to us and finance it.
How would we finance it though?
Well, it depends on, one second, first of all, we can't continue discussing until just a second, so.
Okay, oops, sorry, we should do that first before we get through.
I will second it for further discussion.
Thank you. All right, now, what they would do is they would go out to that company, would put out bids to forensic companies, audit companies, to how much that would cost and the time involved. And then they would come back and we would either do a one-time, if we had the money within certain parameters, of course, and that's how we would fund it.
Because I was kind of confused, I guess, on what we were going to get out of Crow, because I was hoping that some of those answers
But see,
that are questionable would have been answered, but I didn't.
but they weren't.
No.
No, that's why I want this. And I've done this before. If ever, well, for those of you who were, and there's a lot of you who were here back then, we had a certain issue back then. And I called for an audit and nobody wanted to do it. And the investigation, shall I say, did not, in my opinion, go deep enough.
So, when I was, I got home in 2008 and got notified that I was being sent back to Kuwait to testify at a trial. And I got a notification that I wasn't going, and it was because the cost to the government was too expensive for what. And so we know that we have nothing. And my question is, as far as recoupment, what is there to recoup? Is this related just solely for answers? Is it for, possible charges? Is it, what do you hope as an end state out of this?
Okay, that's a fair question, absolutely fair, and unfortunately, we're not gonna have to send anybody to Kuwait for that.
Well, you see my point, though.
I see your point,
How
absolutely,
expensive?
no, it's gonna cost us money, and I'm not gonna kid you, my guess would be $250,000 for a forensic audit. However, the public does not know what's going on in ours. In fact, there are things in the budget over the last 11 years I don't understand. And I don't claim to be, Albert Einstein in financial services. But I would like to, God, how do I say this? I would like to put at ease everybody's concern about possible negligence or criminal activity within the county of Owen. And I think I think the residents of this county deserve to know.
Okay,
And again, this is a recommendation to go to the thing. I'm not committing this to anything, but it has to be put out there. I want the public to know, okay, that we want to be transparent. We want them to understand what's going on. And because there has been a huge amount of issues just in the last 2 years, if you remember, just because a simple one box check, we were $910,000 out of budget for 2020, which never got resolved, which is why we're now at $2 million, because we're carrying that in a negative load over 16 months. So I know it's money that is not in potential likelihood to be available. However, I'm going to be optimistic about the coming year. But it's also necessary to put these things out there. As the judge said.
Don't pull me in part of this, John.
No? Okay.
All I'm pointing out, I think.
The words came out of your mouth.
And I said that they were not put in properly, whether it was intentionally or negligently.
Okay, well, in that case.
I used those words. The reality is if we're gonna throw stones, for over 2 years, I've been suggesting that, hey, this fund amount's not right, this transfer wasn't made. I was CCing everybody on it, Lynn Walters was sending it to you, Donna was coming in, we had regular meetings, and every time we got, Patty would say, this is what's happening, and somebody would say, fix it, and it got kicked down the can and kicked down the can. So everybody really knew that it wasn't being handled properly at that point in time. She kept promising to fix it, she kept juggling the funds around. I don't know if the money, I don't really think she took it, I don't know, I didn't look at that, but looking at the crow, it's just, she would say we had $400,000 in Riverboat. Somebody would say, okay, give so-and-so $350,000, we'd take a break, and then somebody'd come in and say they need something, and she'd say we'd have $400,000 in Riverboat. They'd say, okay, give me $250,000, and it never just got tracked over and over and over again.
And I totally agree with that. We did know. I mean, and we expected her to do it.
And you couldn't do that. Angie Lawson taught all of us that we shouldn't have expected that or relied on that.
Agreed.
And did. And so the reality is we're where we're at, but I do not appreciate it when it says in the paper or on Facebook, and I hear these people talking about the office heads have to get together, they're overspending in their departments, and you hear $300,000 in the red of probation, when the fact is it was a pain in the ass to put it in because Donna gets all these grants to make the county's money, and you have to put $10 out of this one and $20 out of this one, and it's a nightmare. But it's a huge benefit to the county, and it was too hard for her to do and figure out. Maybe because you don't have to have a lot of requirements to be an auditor, perhaps that's something the state should look at on who gets elected. but that's what the issue is. And so, but we're all guilty of that. We all had knowledge. And so whether or not we blame her, I don't know if you should throw good money after bad. That's something that's up with you.
So, well, hold on a second, let me address that, because she makes a good point, and that's fine. Okay, dissociate with that, that's fine, I got no problem with that. However, because we knew the situation, doesn't mean we know how the function of the situation occurred. And that's why we need that, that's why I'm recommending this today, so that we know the functionary position, or the functionary, how it occurred, thank you.
I want you to know that, I appreciate your motivation and all. My issue comes down to this solely. She offered up a position today. We're gonna be looking at more positions that could potentially be offered up to where cuts have to be made. There's no way I can vote for that, knowing that that's on the table right now. Now, I'm telling you, I get it, everything that's been said here tonight.
Well, here, and I get that, then let me put it this way, before I say I'll withdraw, let me say this. I'm tired of the people who are throwing stones who live in glass houses. I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. You got something to say, you come to any one of us and you say it. And then you better have evidence that it's true. Because I have been handed packets over the last 3 years with so-called evidence. And when I went through it, I put it in the fire because that's all it was worth. You can't simply slander, libel, and do anything to anybody unless you have evidence. And even then you're gonna be held to those standards. So that's all I'm saying. I will withdraw this motion, but I want the fecal matter mixers to stop it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Nick, you on board with?
Yes, I think some of us, I did, I felt that there was more that we would have got from pros. I don't even call it investigation, but whatever their process was. And maybe them going in, they knew what they was gonna give us, and I think I expected more from it, so, and it didn't happen, so we'll.
To be fair, Jim, do you have anything to add to this conversation?
I mean, I think what I understood was, you would like me to continue with the reports, continue with these outlines, which I'm more than happy to do. My recommendation today, and I think it bears a little bit, barely a little bit, depending on what Tech's saying, is at least twice a month, having this information in real time. There have been some good internal controls, says by the commissioner. The auditor's office has talked about going through before any claim is paid, if the lines match. There is a positive direction, but unless there's an objection, I'll continue with the reports that I'm doing. I think it's perhaps helpful to that. And I just strongly recommend a minimum of twice having two of these. And so, because it is black and white. Like today, this is printed out on the 13th. The general fund is in the red. There is no debate, there is nothing, it's right there. So are these other funds. And I think looking at that information really is critical for the county.
Thank you, Jim.
So do you want me to send you guys those reports?
Yeah,
Yep. On the,
Keep them coming.
keep them coming.
do you want them every week? Do you want the same numbers that the commissioners get?
Sure.
So that when we send it to the commissioners every 2 weeks, just go ahead and send it to you guys too?
Yes.
If you
I
produce
think
it,
the more information, the better.
Yeah, and there's nothing that.
there's no harm in adding more people to the email.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Just remember the numbers can change if there's a pending claim cycle
Oh, sure.
or out of claim cycles or payrolls and those kinds of things. So if you're asking, it's 3 or 4 days later, it might be a little bit different, but so there always will be pending items.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila. And Chuck, thank you.
Well, thank you for hearing that, guys, I appreciate it.
Elected official and department head comments, ma'am?
Has there been any discussion or decision on the PTO comp payout?
I'm
I
telling
know
you.
we're talking about cutting money, but what I'm wanting to do is from my cash flow, so we just haven't talked about it for a couple months.
No, and I know you're probably getting, yeah, I know how it works. So there's not, I'm telling you, you know why there's not, it's not because it's not important, not because they don't deserve it to be heard, we just not, so. Do we wanna go ahead and add it to the is it 28th or 28th? Do we wanna wait till the July meeting?
I think we should ask for some input from the commissioners, because, you know, they've already been working on the policy or, you know, have the opportunity to do that, and I would hate to short circuit their timeline.
She's got my support on it.
Okay.
I can do that right now. The reason being, not the financial side, she's gonna run out of help. She's got these people that's got all this time, they're all gonna take off time, she's got no one to staff the system.
And if we're cutting positions, I think that problem's gonna be true in many departments, so it may be worth considering in the context of if that has to happen, people are gonna be working more hours.
Why don't we put it off for the 28th then? Do we need an motion?
You can.
I make a motion that we hear this on the 28th and deal with the issues.
And I'll
She has
have
kicked it
fresh
down the road
numbers
all
by
week.
then, because some of my people's been burning their time because they've been waiting for an answer, so I can update with fresh numbers at that meeting.
And that will be a
And
yes or
Jim,
no.
I'm gonna assume, as far as policy, with everything else going on, you've not.
The overtime was done, the time off policy is done, the big comp policy for the commissioners to consider, this coming Monday.
Okay, so it would be timely.
And I have my own policy that commissioners have passed on that for just the communication center, because we have a different, it's still the same amount of hours as all the rest of the county employees, it's just they don't get individual sick, vacation, and personal time, it's all lump time, and they get a disbursement.
Can you kick that to us again if you haven't already?
Yeah.
All right, motion on the floor by Nick, do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chuck, further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, all those in favor? 7-0. Okay, Gary, do you have anything?
I don't at this time.
Any other department heads? Okay,
Motion to have the president of the council approve the summaries as presented each month.
So the summaries are not in your packet. They're in an email that Sheila has. She hasn't had a chance to print them, but there are 18 of them reflecting employee changes that occurred since the last batch.
if you would, can you amend it to say?
Well, I never actually got a second, so I can continue the 18.
You can put a note in there that I can come in and sign them through the
Oh,
week.
yeah, that we would be able to sign it at your leisure
I'll second.
before the end of this month.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor by Chuck, second by Anton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Any members of the public here? Sir, go ahead.
Appreciate
Aaron Barnett from Jackson Township. I went through the June 10th paper, and that's where after I read that thing, I wanted to go ahead and address it to the council. When I did my original calculations and things like that on my demand letter that I turned in, I didn't figure out the total percentage of the population. So basically, all the county people that work for the county can draw money from the county. It comes out to be about 2% of our population. So when I requested that we furlough 30 employees from the county, that comes out to be approximately around 7.5%. Okay, so of the county employees, and I still think that's a valuable thing to consider because of the fact it almost immediately, within a period of 6 months, drops off a little over $1.2 million in not only salary, but benefits and insurances and a lot of other things, okay? And I know it's gonna be hard on everybody, but I believe this is the way to go, because what it'll do is, it not only stops the flow of money, okay? It also allows you to build into the next year, because you don't have those employees that you have to pay for. The strain on county government, I realize will be there, but I'm saying to the county council, 7.5% is not an unusual or something that I consider to be an unreasonable request. And that's what I'm asking for. That's all I got.
So let me
Yeah, go ahead.
ask you something.
Sure.
What type of, I got your percentage, I got what that equates to, but how do you identify the jobs that you're going to cut?
In my demand letter, if you remember that, I basically said there was 3 different departments that I figured should be left alone because they have the most direct input on the county. And that would be like the sheriff's department, you know, and the highway department, you know, and maybe the emergency medical service people that take care of people with heart attacks or whatever accidents. So those are the ones that are the most immediate thing. It's not that the clerk's department, it's not that the recorder, it's not that those are not important. It's just that in this type of a situation where we are in, I don't believe that the council realizes that the amount of the inflation rate that's going up in this country is going to get worse when we get towards the end of the year. And the budget things that you're making budgets on now are based upon what you think money will buy in the past. But right now it's 5%. And everything that I've read says it'll probably go to 7 to 8%. But I believe that's even wrong because they're getting ready to drop off another, $2.1 trillion into debt. So the measures that I'm asking for here, right, will just give us a little bit of time, a little bit of room to be able to afford the next budget for the next following year. And that's what I'm asking for.
So, back to my question.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, this would be better heard under a public hearing or in a work session. This is not the appropriate place to discuss this. I mean, it's fine for his statement to have 2 to 3 minutes, but it would be less than appropriate for just making this a discussion without being in a public hearing.
Okay, well, good enough.
I'm done with my public comment.
Absolutely, public comment's great, but when we start debating, it becomes public hearing.
Oh, no, it's not debate, I just want to find out more about his idea, but that's,
He's friendly, he lives up in my area, you can call him.
okay, attorney comments. Madam Auditor? Nothing. Council comments?
I do.
Okay.
We talked earlier this morning about the sheriff's department and the pension fund and the proposal, I guess, that he made. And if that's something that we were to take care of before the end of the month, we would probably need to advertise for that because of the notice. And, you know, it's one thing to have a meeting and do the budget reductions, but an appropriation like that would still require its own advertisement. And so I hate to skip over this meeting and miss that opportunity. The other thing is Sheila talked about, and Jim touched on, is if, you know, we are to appropriate some money from, let's say, the edit or the riverboat cash balance to the general to make sure we keep it out of the red, that too would be something to accomplish before the end of the month. And so that would also require an advertisement. Sheila, Jim, I don't know what dollar amount you recommend, or, you know.
You're 200 down, there's another payroll, and there's another claim session that are coming. So you're looking at 200,000 down, plus the payroll, plus another claims, plus incidental that would come in if you're really wanting to do that. So it could be several $100,000 to appropriate, but also would also kind of determine like where exactly are you wanting to put that? Are you trying to say you're just going to pay a certain area, or are you just trying to put it directly into the general fund. I think probably what he would need to check with the state board of accounts, maybe just transfer that just to the general rather than an actual appropriation to.
Yes, yeah, that would be a concern, is the method.
Yeah, because I don't think, I mean, I'm talking just purely, just more of opinion, I don't really think you can just take from lit edit $500,000 and put it in general. I think it would really have to be, we're now going to pay these items that were normally in general fund, will now be paid out of lit edit or the same with Riverboat.
Specific expenses.
Yes. And I don't know you'll have that ready, I mean, by tomorrow morning for her to have,
Yeah, and
have that ready.
true, good point. It was just your suggestion earlier about timing, and
It's gonna be real close, but I mean, if there was a possibility or something the council had in mind, I think you're looking at $400,000 to $500,000 at a minimum of what one time.
Would it be all right if we just would advertise $200,000 since we're negative right now out of Riverboat in a general fund? Could we do that?
I don't think so, Councilman, because you're just taking that and just putting it from one fund to the other. I think there would have to be a direct appropriation. At the $200,000, it's still gonna leave payroll short and then the claim cycle short.
well, why don't we plan on, at our June meeting, just in general, let's try to put the pieces together we need for that. And by then, we'll have the answer we need as far as whether we can transfer balance or we have to be specific on the items. And I would lean more towards specific towards items, even though that's not the easiest route. But on the sheriff's request, that we do have a specific item there.
Yeah, you can go ahead and you can take care of that tonight and wrap that one up. You could also wrap up the property payment too.
Yeah, there's both of those items that we probably should advertise for. One thing to bring up is that the storage unit fund that we have, and I don't have that fund number in front of me, but there's about 27,000 there that I think we should use first to go towards the storage payment loan balance. And then what's left would then come out of his offer. You were offering jail housing on the balance of the loan payment.
That's correct.
So
I make a
that's
motion
what
we
I think.
advertise, would this be a transfer and appropriation to pay off that loan?
Appropriation.
Appropriation, in the amount up to, if I'm not mistaken, $121,000 out of the two funds, the storage fund and then the sheriff's jail maintenance, to take care of and pay off the loan on the storage facility.
Jail housing.
Jail housing.
I'm sorry, jail housing, correction, thank you.
And
Thank you.
storage unit fund.
4015,
4015, thank you, sir.
28,968.77 cents is what the balance is.
All right, one motion on the
total
floor.
of the loan is like 120,000 or something, that's why I said up to 120.
Right, I just let him know what he's gonna have to figure out the differences with the 28.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll second the motion to advertise that way.
Do you have that motion? And I'll just state it's up to the amount of 121,000 out of jail housing.
Yeah, that's what,
Grand total.
grand total.
And we're pretty confident on that one.
Utilizing the 28,968 and 77 cents that's currently in the storage fund.
Yeah, it's 120,000, something paid off, 121.
That amount was through July the 5th, so
Okay.
it shouldn't go up.
If we do it now, you won't have to encumber any more costs.
So motion on the floor by Chuck, second by Anton. Is there any further discussion? We've been well briefed on this today, I feel. Hearing nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say no.
And we can also do the pension fund and get that cleared up tonight too, and you'll be done with that as well.
And that amount that you proposed was?
The total NGO was 266,341. We got 14,453 left in the cash balance, so subtract that, if somebody got a calculator.
14,453.
Yeah, mine off the 266,341.
No one's calculating it. Give me a minute, I'll do it on hand. I feel like I am.
266, 341? What was the grand total?
Got toes.
266,341 minus 14,453.
Okay.
Leaves you how much?
251,888.
Okay,
that's what I
between my tax warrant fees, civil process fees, is $71,638.52. Subtract that off that last number.
Alright.
716, repeat that number again.
71638.52.
182.49.48.
That's exactly what I got. That's what you need to pay the pension in full. If you do that tonight, we'll put these other funds with it, the pension will be paid in full.
So normally, it would have been paid the end of 2020. It wasn't paid.
Yes, sir.
And then it was too late in 21 and it had to be paid. So it actually was paid from that line item, but that's our 2021 line item that would have been paid this December. And so this would correct that problem and make it current.
That is correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and accept the sheriff's agreement to use I don't need numbers, 14,453 from,
the cash balance.
And the tax warrant, two line items of the tax warrant for a total of 341?
638.62.
638.62, to be used for the sheriff's retirement fund. Thank you. I can't see it. But thank you for your help.
And then the balance would be from which fund?
The 180.
The 182.
049.48.
That's a good idea. Edit. Well, and then that where it's gonna come from anyway? We don't take it for.
It's in the general fund normally.
Alright, well.
Yeah.
We
Sounds
only,
like you.
Riverboat or edit,
what was the leftover balance, 140, 160?
182.
And have 375 in there. We're gonna have to use at least, some of that too for at least claims and payments for payroll. Unfortunately, we don't have anything in rainy day, I know that. Okay,
Riverboat or?
100, what was the total?
Riverboat or edit?
Riverboat.
Riverboat?
No, negative, we can take it out of edit, right?
Yeah.
Edit.
Alright.
In the amount of 180,000, whatever.
182,049.48.
Thank you, 182,049.
Madam Auditor, do you have that?
So it's
It's 180,249.
Oh,
249 is correct.
49.48.
Chuck, can you repeat the entire motion?
Absolutely. I move we accept the sheriff's proposal and that we go ahead and take the balance of the income funds from civil processing fees and tax warrant retained fees in the total amount of $71,638.50.
He's on a roll.
14,000, I don't see that one here. 453 left in the cash balance, pay the remaining balance of $182,49.48 out of the edit fund for a total of $266,000 for, well,
341.
the sheriff's department retirement fund.
I'll second that.
Is that better, Anton?
Yeah.
Are we good on that motion? Second by Anton.
We've had a long day, but.
Further discussion. Hearing nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 7-0.
And I waited till you voted before I said anything else.
Oh, great.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be good.
Oh, it's great. You voted, so
We're another year behind.
I just want to know.
No.
I just want you to consider, because budget hearings are coming up. Next year's budget for the pension alone is $303,000. And I know people are saying, why so high? You have to take into consideration, when you go in the middle of the road, or you pay the minimum, percentage of that money calculates over and over, and it's been going on for a long time. So that's the reason it's so high. I just wanna let you know that your budget for next year for the pension amount is $303,000. Just one.
And not to throw a wrench in your bread, but the benefits are good too, and there's a cost to that, so.
The benefits are good, but the one thing that you need to understand, and it's no different than any of your bank accounts. This money goes to a pension fund that draws 6% interest for the guys that are retiring. If somebody would have your money and wasn't paying you what you had coming, you'd be throwing up a red flag.
Well, we appreciate the full disclosure on the back end of the vote.
That's all good.
Thank you, Sam, for your
Thank
help.
you. Were those the only two things, the critical things that were on the list there? Was there anything else this morning we need to advertise for, or?
Trying to get the gym.
I just want to get as many things off our list as possible.
All right, so before we leave, department heads, listen, I know that based on the numbers that we were able to get today in this work session, it's really easy for you to say, we'll circle the wagons and form a defense here, because nothing that I can do can influence the rest of the amount in such a way to satisfy the total requirement. What I'm asking of all of you is to work collectively. And I know, Judge, you mentioned today, well, I've got to work in concert with this person, this person, and this person, this person, in order to come up with a plan that satisfies the judicial requirements of the county. What I'm telling you to do, to think about, is that if prior to our next meeting, it's possible to come up with anything that benefits us as a whole, to please feel encouraged to do that. And to anyone else here, I've certainly protected, I'm thinking about the people that work for me, their families, all that. I'm thinking about, how do we continue to function? I'm saying I've had to do those things, and this is really tough business. I'd be lying if I wasn't going to say it's probably going to get harder over the next few weeks. But certainly, your requirements, your people better than we do. And if there's anything that you can do now, between now and our next meeting, I just encourage that. And I will certainly also offer, you guys know my email and my phone number. You know your liaisons numbers. We're here to help solve problems, not create problems for you. So if there's any communication that you need, certainly feel free to pick up the phone and reach out to us.
Motion to adjourn?
Got it?
Thanks for a great thing. Friends.
Yeah.
I meant that for a white Latin I did, well, you know, I feel like we got something done.
Oh, I
So, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Did something say that the list that you did, it didn't include Donna's correction? Before I get that advertised?
Yeah,
Your number, your savings go up.
yeah,
And what's?
I didn't think we kind of finalized that, but if there's a number, some numbers that you can get Sheila,
Donna.
yeah, maybe that would
That's your
help.
probation person, they didn't.
Email me that list.
I did. Hopefully you're